Well, good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the session today. First of all, thank you all for joining us, and thank you to TDRA Virtual Academy for inviting us to share this session with you. So today is all about the power of language in business writing, part 2. This is part 2 of a 2-series program on the power of language in business writing. So a quick reminder why this is so important. In the words of Harvard Business Review, a company is only as good as its writing. So a company or an individual, a professional, is only as good as its writing, highlighting the importance of business writing. And within that, what we're going to be talking about today, the power of language. So, quick introduction to myself for people I haven't been in contact with before. My name is Catherine Bentley. I'm originally from the UK, but I've been in financial services whilst I was in the UK. So, background with banks, insurance companies, very much corporate. I've been in this region now since 2005, and my time here has focused purely on training, culture, coaching and consulting, with a definite flavour of communication skills running throughout my time in the Middle East. So very happy to be with you today to share this session. So part 1, a quick recap. Part 1, we discovered how business writing is really all about persuasive writing. That's what business writing is, persuasive writing. We've talked about the art of persuasion, the rhetoric triangle, and the AIDA model, and we'll be coming back to this again today when we look at part 2. And then we started to look at the first 3 elements of the power of language, how using plain English and all its associated parts, very, very important. So how we select words and phrases to create impact and convey clear meaning. And then moved on to look at sentence discipline, so how we build our words and phrases into appropriate sentences, again, to create the impact and ensure understanding. Part 2, our roadmap for today. We're going to move on to look at use of paragraphs and how important it is that we consider the rules, the protocols around paragraph usage. Then sharing some thoughts, ideas, again, protocols all about punctuation. And then I'm going to take a look at style and tone and just how important style and tone is to getting the right impression, conveying the right image, and again, creating impact. And then finishing by considering what might be our action plans moving forward to apply all this in our business writing. So, quick recap. Last time we talked a little bit about the rhetoric triangle. And just a reminder, or introducing this to people who didn't manage to join us in the first session, we introduced the concept of the rhetoric triangle as an important tool to consider in all communication, but particularly in business writing. And we looked at the 3 elements of the rhetoric triangle: ethos, so the writer conveying the character, the reputation of the writer, and really, really demonstrating professional and personal presence. Second element in the rhetoric triangle, pathos. So here, how to connect with the audience. So knowing and connecting with the audience and the readers, understanding their needs, expectations, and of course, emotions, and how important that is. And then logos. This is all about the subject, the content of the writing. So presenting accurate, logical information and keeping things clear with clear direction and outcome. So 3 elements in terms of tactics of rhetoric: the ethos, presenting the writer as trustworthy and authoritative; The logos, using logic, reasoning, and evidence to present the subject in writing. And then pathos, so how we appeal to the emotions and the beliefs of the audience. So keeping this in mind as we move through today's session, we're going to start to take a look now at the first item of today. And this is all about the use of paragraphs in business writing. And I want to start really by asking you guys, why do we use paragraphs in business writing? Why bother? Do we need them? Is it a waste of our time trying to sort things into paragraphs? So I'm going to ask you to share your thoughts, please, on the chat box. Why do we use paragraphs in business writing? What's the function? I'll give you a few seconds maybe to give us your ideas on the chat box. Any ideas are welcome, yeah? What do you think about it? Why do you use paragraphs in business writing? Or do you use paragraphs? That's another question. Why do we use them? Any thoughts? What is the function of paragraphs in business writing? Okay, so thank you, Nadine. It helps building relationships. Yes, it does. It does. Any other reasons why we use paragraphs? Okay, so Amna, it clearly mentions if describing the subject, yeah, leaves an impact, all of these things, yeah, they definitely have a function. They definitely have a function. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the things you've mentioned and maybe a couple more points. But remembering, in business writing, 2 key words, we introduced these in session 1, in part 1. When we're thinking about business writing, 2 key words we should be keeping in mind. One is responsibility. So we are responsible for ensuring the understanding of the reader. Okay, and credibility. The writer is responsible for maintaining and demonstrating the credibility of themselves and the brand that they're representing. So with that in mind, paragraphs. This is how we should be thinking about using paragraphs. Paragraphs are about displaying the shape of the writer's thinking. So in the same way, if you're talking to somebody or if you're presenting in a business environment, you use the speed, you use pauses in your speech to demonstrate that's the end of this point. Now I'm going to start talking about something else. So the shape of your speaking, in the same way, when we're writing paragraphs, the breaking paragraphs show that we're moving on to start to talk about something else. So it's displaying the shape of the writer's thinking. And as Nadine said, dividing the messages in an email. So dividing the points, absolutely right. Showing the main ideas and the relationship between them. Yeah, so we could have 3-4 main points in an email, in a report, and by dividing them into different paragraphs, we show that they're separate ideas, separate points. Now, paragraphs can have one sentence. Sometimes when we ask the question, how many sentences do we need to have in a paragraph? A typical answer might be, 3 or 5. No, actually, it's perfectly fine, acceptable to have a 1-sentence paragraph. Yeah, if you think about an email, we might have the first paragraph reading something like, thank you for your email of the 25th of October. Full stop, new paragraph. That's fine. But in terms of average paragraphs consists of 3 to 5 sentences, but I would stress that really it's as many as you need to complete the point or topic, remembering that you want to be retaining the interest of the reader. Yeah, you want to keep the interest and keeping things clear. That's key. So where we've got paragraphs with more sentences, trying to make sure that perhaps the sentences are shorter, and then we're not losing the attention or the understanding of the reader. And they are to deal with individual topics, which is what you guys were feeding back there in the chat box. And basically the rule is new topic, new paragraph. So that's how we use paragraphs to aid understanding, but also, as you said, to keep impact. Yeah, if we receive, and sometimes we do, emails like this, we've all received these. Maybe sometimes we've sent emails like this. If we have, let's try not to be doing this again, yeah? Because this kind of email or document where we've got everything all in one block doesn't create an impact. That's the first thing. It can have the reverse effect. Yeah, immediately a reader knows that this kind of document or mail is going to be difficult to work through and pull out the points. It's not easy to navigate through. Yeah, so this kind of block text with no paragraph breaks, really, really difficult. If we start to work through this, there are 3 main topics in this email, but they're very, very difficult to identify. Another example, we shared this with you last time to demonstrate problems with long sentences. But again, this kind of piece where we've got a number of complex ideas should be broken into smaller paragraphs. Yeah, it overwhelms the reader. And another example here. This is an example, I'll be honest with you, of an email I received some time ago, came to my private email address. It was a sales email, and I received a number of these. Just zero discipline in terms of sorting of information into paragraphs. So we identify which paragraph relates to which topic. Just a random list of sentences. Yeah, displays lack of attention, lack of care, and not really showing the shape of the writer's thinking. So it doesn't create impact. It has the opposite effect. Yeah, the opposite effect. It demonstrates a lack of care in sorting the information and presenting it. So paragraphs definitely have a function in business writing. And we see another example here of quite a short email, but sorted into 3 kind of tiny paragraphs relating to different points. It's all relating to one overall topic, but it's divided neatly into paragraphs so that the reader understands the first paragraph is about, dates, details about a training program. Second one is about pre-course exercises. And the third one is a call to action. Contact me if you've got any queries in advance of the program. And then kind regards, sign off. Yeah, very neat, very easy to read through. It would have been very different if that had all been in one block of text. So this is the power of using paragraphs in business writing. Now we have a little video here, which I think summarizes all of these points. I'm going to share this with you. It brings all of these together to highlight just how important paragraphs really are.
Hi everyone, my name is Mr. Watson, and today we're going to be talking about paragraphs, what they are, why we use them, and how to use them correctly. If you find using paragraphs difficult or you don't tend to use them very often, then hopefully this video will help you out. So, how would you define what a paragraph actually is? Well, think about a paragraph as a section of writing that deals with a single theme or idea. For example, if I was describing what this dog looks like, I do all that in one paragraph. But if I decided to then talk about what it's doing, I do that on a different paragraph because I'm focusing on a different thing. It seems that occasionally there is some confusion from people who believe that a paragraph has to be made up of about 4 or 5 lines or sentences. This is not the case. A paragraph can be made up of as many sentences as are necessary to get the information across. whether that's 17, 27, or just one single sentence. So now we know what a paragraph is. Why should you be using them in your work? Ultimately, it's about organizing your ideas and presenting them to your reader in as straightforward a way as possible. Take a look at this. This is being written using no paragraphs whatsoever. If I asked you to read this, yes, you could probably do it, but does it look particularly appealing? Where are the breaks? Where are the clues that tell us about changes in topic and theme? There aren't any. It's just one huge block of writing. Your reader will not appreciate this and may find it difficult to navigate through your work. If we were to now add paragraphs into it and organize the writing in a much clearer way, a much more appealing way, we can see each of the different sections very easily. It's broken down for us, and it seems far less intimidating to read. Plus, if we needed to go back into it to find a specific section, we can easily see what each part is about. With all that in mind, you might be thinking, okay, well, I know what a paragraph is and why we use them, but how can I use them in my own writing? Well, we can use a simple acronym to help us remember when to start a new paragraph. And that acronym is TIP-TOP. The TI stands for time. The first P stands for place. The TO stands for topic. And the second P stands for person. If any of these things change whilst you are writing, you need to start a new paragraph. So if you talk about a different time, a different place or location, a different topic, or introduce a different person or speaker, then you must begin on a brand new paragraph. It really is that simple. Try to use paragraphs in your own writing if you don't already, as it's such an important part of structuring your content and making it more readable. Whether you're writing a story or an analysis, paragraphing is essential. That's all for this video. I hope you found it helpful.
Okay, so whether you're writing an email, a report, a proposal, a business brief, or whatever else you're called on to write in terms of business writing, paragraphing, clearly very important. Okay, so let's move on to consider the next bit. We've looked at words, sentences, how we build them into paragraphs. The next key thing for us to consider in terms of the power of language in business writing is punctuation. Punctuation. And let me start by asking this question. Does punctuation actually matter? What is punctuation all about? And is it important? So let me ask this question again to the group. Is punctuation important? And what is really the role of punctuation? I'll leave you a few seconds to give us your ideas, please, on the chat box, yeah? Does it matter? And what's its role? What does it do? What does punctuation do in our business writing? What do you think? Yes, I'm noticing. Yes, of course it matters. It does. But why? What does it do? What is its role? It is very, very important. But what does it do? What is its function? Any thoughts? Anybody got any ideas on the role of punctuation? Okay, Anna. It helps to specify topic continuity or breaking the ideas from one to another. Yes, it does. So it's assisting in readability of a document. Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else it does? So I think what Amna there is describing is the rhythm and flow. The rhythm and flow. Okay. Role of punctuation. Very, very important. And we do find that it's often overlooked. One of the main errors in business writing is either absence of punctuation or misuse of punctuation. So it's worth us considering, are we using punctuation appropriately and accurately? Okay, so Amna is also saying it's important to show the mood of the writer towards the reader. We're going to look at that. Yeah, we look at that. Thank you for raising that, Amna. That's all about emotion. Yeah, and we're going to look at that as we consider the main types of punctuation. That's a good point. So, role of punctuation helps the reader understand the message that's being conveyed. Yeah, by breaking and aiding the rhythm and flow. Okay, wrongly used punctuation or missing punctuation can change the entire meaning. Now, if you don't believe that, I'm going to show you a couple of examples shortly that demonstrate this. Yeah, if we use punctuation in the wrong way or we don't use it at all, it can change the entire meaning. That's the power of punctuation. But primarily, it's helping to indicate the pauses and the emphasis on certain ideas or thoughts. That's its main function. But also it does, in many situations, actually convey meaning. So we need to really consider that when we're looking at punctuation in our writing. In academic writing, now this may be something that you're not all necessarily involved in, but it's worth knowing. In academic writing, it's essential to accurately use punctuation as it can help to strengthen arguments that are made in the text. Yeah. So role of punctuation is quite significant. Okay. Now, if you were wondering how on earth punctuation can actually determine meaning, a couple of examples. Have a look at these two sentences. First one, a woman without her man is lost. Now, ladies, maybe we wouldn't necessarily agree with that, yeah? Or a woman without her man is lost. Now, depending on whether you're male or female, you might prefer one version or another of those sentences. But this is the fact. We've got the same sentence, the same words in the same order. The only difference is the use of punctuation. But by adding punctuation, we are changing the meaning. Yeah? In the first sentence, by just putting the comma after man, we're saying that basically women are lost without men. All right? In the second one, we're actually conveying the reverse meaning. Yeah? Without her, man is lost. Without a woman, man is lost. Yeah? Now I'm not going to get into which one of those is correct. But all we're saying here is punctuation is powerful. Second example, a little bit more humor. I like cooking dogs and kids. Okay, use of comma. If we take the commas out, I like cooking dogs and kids. Now, the second sentence there is indicating that maybe we want to put the dogs and the kids on the barbecue. Right now, there are times when maybe that's what we feel we want to do. But my point is, commas can indicate completely the wrong meaning, yeah, or misuse of commas can convey the wrong meaning. Punctuation, very, very important. So let's take a look at the main types of punctuation. Yeah, some of these, I'm sure, very obvious, and I'm sure that you'll be using them in exactly the right way. A couple more, maybe not. So let's take a look at these and assess what is the use and when and if we should be using all these types of punctuation in business writing. I like to think about punctuation being a little bit like the traffic signals. So you imagine we've got a road system. Okay. We've got the cars on the road. Now that's like the words, and we've looked at, use of words in business writing. You've got the cars moving around the roads, okay, are words. You've got sentences, so that's a little bit like the streets and the roads, okay. You've got paragraphs. We've looked at this today. That could be seen like the junctions, the interchanges. We can view punctuation in this kind of context as the traffic signals that are speeding up or slowing down the flow of the traffic or the flow of the language and meaning. This is one way that I like to suggest to people that they think about punctuation. So if we use this analogy of punctuation, we would think about the red light being probably the full stop. Yeah, so red light, full stop. I'm sure we're all pretty much aware and using the full stop at the end of sentences. We know about sentence discipline. We know about when we've made a point, end of sentence, and then to assist reader understanding, full stop, and we start a new sentence. Yeah, so end of sentence, new idea, new point following. Red light, full stop. And that's one of the clear ones. So if we think about the red light being the full stop, what do you think, which punctuation mark do you think would be the amber light? You think about amber being slow down, or you should be slowing down when you see an amber light. Quick guess, guys, quick guess on the chat box. Which punctuation mark do you think would be the amber light? Give me your thoughts. See how awake we are. Amber light. Amber light, nobody being brave and guessing? Amber light. Think about the punctuation mark that makes us slow down, but not necessarily the end of the point. This would be the comma. Yeah, so we should be using the comma in the same way that we think about an amber light, the readers to slow down. It's not the end of the point. Yeah, we might be listing items or adding clauses. Yeah, listing items or adding clauses. So, for example, I like cooking, walking, dogs, and kids. Yeah, listing things. There's no need in that example there for a new sentence. We're talking about all the things I like. It's part of the say idea. Yes, you might say thank you for that, Fakra. Yeah, it's comma. Yeah, so that's how we use commas. When we don't actually need a full stop and a new paragraph and a new sentence, it's about slowing down. But if we take the commas out, we see possibly disastrous meanings like I like cooking, dogs, and kids. Yeah, so listing ideas. Okay, so we've got the full stop, we've got the comma. All right, what about question mark? Question mark we use when we are actually asking a direct question and we're asking the reader for a response. Yeah, a direct question could be something like, when may we expect a response? Question mark. Yeah, that's when we use question mark. And guys, I'll stress, we use one question mark, not 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's not business writing style, tone. We see it a lot, yeah. Just one question mark is sufficient, okay? So, question mark for when we're asking a direct question, when we're looking for a response. Colon, the double dot. This is where we are signaling that something is to follow, like I've used there on that slide, yeah? a list of things, details, information, or an explanation. These are things which could follow a colon. List of items. So, example here. The following are items which are required. Signed agreement, visa copy, passport copy. We use the colon to say there's some information following here which you need to take note of. It's like, look, not danger ahead, but things ahead you need to be aware of. That's the colon. That's the use of the colon. Now, brackets. Okay, brackets. Be careful how you use brackets. Yeah, brackets are used in writing, business writing, to contain additional information. Yeah, where you want to indicate to the reader there's either an explanation or some additional information here. Yeah, it's separating it out so the reader can skip over that if they want to do. And the rule about brackets is that the contents of the brackets can be removed from the sentence without affecting the meaning of the sentence. We can take all of that out and the sentence still stands. It's additional information. So it might be explanation of a term. It might be, a list of items, additional information, explaining something that you've already highlighted. Yeah. So think about that additional information. We could take all of that out the sentence and the sentence still stands. Quotation marks. Be careful with this one. That's what I would say. Be careful with quotation marks. Some people mistakenly use quotation marks to highlight things. That's not what they're used for. That's not correct English. Quotation marks are used to show exactly the words that have been used in speech or maybe in some written documents. So when maybe we want to quote something that somebody said for a particular reason, we want to show the exact words, or something that's maybe wording that's been used maybe in a policy or an agreement. That's the use of quotation marks, not to highlight things or emphasize things. We've got lots of other devices we can use to do that. Now, we come on to the ones which I want to give you a little bit of a warning indicator about. The ... This is the technical term for this is the ellipses. Yeah, ... This is used to highlight that something's following. Yeah, and we see this maybe in detective thriller novels like building suspense and drama. Also, maybe we're using this in informal WhatsApps and so on. You know, you'll never guess who I saw last night. ... Yeah, this kind of punctuation really is not appropriate for business writing. Sometimes people use it to show where something is incomplete or to be continued, but it's not appropriate in business writing, guys. We should be highlighting, you know, this topic will be continued later or more to follow. To use this, it's quite informal. It's not really business writing standard or style and tone. So that's my first one that I say, let's take that out of use in business writing. Second one is this, and this may surprise you. This may surprise you. The exclamation mark is used typically when we see it. It's about expressing humor, surprise, anger, all of those things. That's emotion. That's emotion. Now, we know we've got many words in the English language, and we can express our emotion, yeah, appropriately in the words that we choose. The big challenge, the big issue with using an exclamation mark, it can be misinterpreted. Yeah, you may be using it to express humor, and it could be interpreted that you're angry or something else. And that's why we always recommend that we avoid using exclamation marks in business writing. It's not really business writing style and tone because of the emotional connotations. Yeah, so that's my advice for today. Avoid it. Sometimes we see people not just using one, but again using 3, 4, 5 exclamation marks. It can provoke a kind of emotional reaction that you're not looking for. You're losing control by using an exclamation mark. It's not clear. Okay, so my advice is where we want to stress things, where we want to express any of these emotions, find another way of doing it to make sure that we don't provoke the wrong emotional reaction on the other side. So that's the elements really of punctuation. It's very important. I just suggest go back and have a look at your business writing. Are you using punctuation appropriately? So now we move on to the next part, and this is all about style and tone of business writing. Style and tone, and what is appropriate. There's a lot of confusion out there about style and tone. I think social media and the kind of wide range of communication channels that we now have available to us has resulted in a bit of confusion. What is appropriate style and tone for a business email compared to, say, a WhatsApp message, a social media post, and so on. But we've got to be very, very clear. Yeah, writing in business, where whatever kind of writing we're doing, we are still presenting ourselves as professionals. We're presenting our own personal brand, and the whole ethos of the Rhetoric Triangle is valid, whatever channel we're using. So style and tone, how can you best, determine whether your style and tone is appropriate? And one way that we suggest people look at this is by considering your writing style and tone compared to, say, a dress style and tone. So if we think about a style of dress, there can be a scale. And at one end of the scale, we've got very formal dress. So very formal dress could look something like this, yeah, or very formal traditional dress. Okay, now if we compare this to writing style, this is very formal writing style that we might see in legal documents or detailed government documents or papers. Now, depending on our role, most of us are not involved generally in that kind of writing as part of our general business writing. So that kind of style and tone, where it's very complicated words, maybe long sentences for particular reasons, is not the right kind of style and tone for business writing. It could be very formal in terms of not very personal. That's not the right style and tone. Now, at the other end of the scale, we have what we call t-shirt style. And that's very informal writing, yeah? The kind of writing that we might use to send a quick WhatsApp to a friend or a family member, or that we might use in a social media post, yeah? This is where we're abbreviating things. Maybe we're using, informal language. That's maybe where we're using, multiple exclamation marks, and that's okay. That's okay, but it's not okay for business writing, yeah? Remember, professional presence. You are what you write, and you're going to be seen like that. What we're aiming for is what we call smart formal. So the way that we dress for work, yeah, maybe in the office, we wouldn't wear, tuxedos and formal dress. Equally, we wouldn't necessarily be wearing t-shirts, shorts, slippers. Think about how we dress, be in that business or smart formal, and think about a style of writing that would match that. Smart formal, yeah, polite language, simple language, polite language, the kind of language you use in business writing, in business meetings, in presentations, that kind of style and tone, connecting with people in a professional, friendly way. So that's the style and tone. And we say, tone is about saying what you mean, assertive communication, assertive, stating what you mean, stating your points clearly, whilst respecting, the opinions, values, beliefs, emotions of the reader. That's assertive communication. It's about being specific in style and tone. It's about building rapport, and it's about always being positive. Being positive. As professionals, we want to be seen as being positive. Optimism, all of that coming through, even where sometimes we've got to convey messages which may not be so welcome on the part of the reader. It's about being seen as a positive professional. So that's the kind of style and tone that we're aiming for. And Gary Provost, who is an expert in all these matters, said, if a style of writing doesn't come easily to you, then it's probably not going to come easily to the reader either. So style's got to come from who you are as a professional, not who you wish you were. So it's about relaxing and writing as well as you can, remembering that it is business writing and it's not informal communication with your friends, family members, or colleagues in an out of work situation. Okay, so that's the style and tone. We're going to move on now to consider the last piece really in terms of power of language in business writing. And this is all about first impressions, creating the right first impression in business writing. And one of the most important things is consistency. Consistency, because if we're not consistent in our writing, it can create the impression that we're maybe not going to be consistent in other parts of our work and in other things that we deliver. So very, very important that we demonstrate consistency. Remember, ethos, demonstrating the credibility, reliability of the writer. So consistency, think about this. Think about consistency in your font and typography. You will, I'm sure, have your own company standard, but think about making sure that the size and typeface is consistent, that we're not using colors randomly and so on to create the wrong kind of first impression. Think about your use of spelling, UK, US. Now, we're often asked the question, which of these is correct? The truth is, they're both correct, yeah? There is a standard UK spelling code and there's a standard US spelling code. Again, your organization could be specific on this, yeah? And if so, you follow that. If you have a choice, that is up to you. But if you adopt a particular style, the important thing is that you're consistent and you stay with it. And often we see emails or documents where the writer changes standard midway through, even spelling the same word two different ways in one document. It doesn't look professional. It doesn't look considered, and it doesn't look as though a lot of care has been taken over it. Be consistent in the use of upper and lowercase. So if we're describing something, like, for example, training program, yeah, and we use a capital T, capital P in the first part of a document, we mustn't then change later on and make a lowercase t, lowercase p. Keep it consistent in use of upper and lowercase. Where we're emphasizing points, where we're using lists, bold type. So Nadine is saying the spelling consistency is really important. Yes, Nadine, it is. It is. If you want to be seen as very careful and magnificent in terms of writing, yeah, it's about keeping it consistent. I'm not saying you've got to adopt one type of spelling over another, but keeping it consistent is important. Yeah, that's the answer. Thank you for that question. Yeah, particularly not switching to spell words in two different ways in one document. So, for example, program, standard US spelling is program with one M. The UK spelling is double M-E. Choose your standard, yeah, but don't in one document spell it in two different ways, because it looks like you're not really sure which one you should be using. Yeah, so it's about consistency and not distracting the reader, thinking, is that a different word? Is there something different about this? Yeah, it's important. It's the small details that create the big impression. Punctuation. We talked about this, yeah? Punctuation, being consistent, and things like parallel grammatical structures. Now, what on earth does this mean? Yeah, I'm going to move on to this and show you this. Look at the first sentence here. Catherine likes to cook, read, and listen to music. It's the same verb form. Cook, read, listen to music. The infinitive part of the verb. In the second sentence, we're not using parallel grammatic structures. Catherine likes to cook, reading, listen to music. Yeah, it creates a bit of a distraction. The third sentence, Catherine likes cooking, reading, and listening to music. Again, we've got the same form, yeah? The cooking, reading, listening, the same structure. Again, small details that can make a very different kind of first impression that the reader's going to get. Okay, so consistency, highly important. And the reality is we want to be getting the right kind of first impression. Like when we look at a document like this, it's neat, it's tidy, it's clear, it's easy to read. So I'm just going to share with you a little video clip now. You may have seen this before, you may not, okay? But I'm going to play the first few seconds and I want you to give me your impressions of the lady on the stage, your first impressions. If it's not the first time you've seen the video, think back to the first time when you did see it. And what were your first impressions about the lady on the stage? All right, so let's play this video now.
Hi, what's your name, darling?
My name is Susan Boyle.
Okay, Susan, where are you from?
I am from Blackburn near Bathgate, West Lothian.
It's a big town.
It's a sort of collection of villages. Had to think there.
And how old are you, Susan?
I am 47. And that's just one side of me.
Okay, what's the dream?
I'm trying to be a professional singer.
And why hasn't it worked out so far, Susan?
I've never been given the chance before, but here's hoping it will change.
Okay, and who would you like to be as successful as?
Elaine Page.
Elaine
something like
Page.
that.
What are you going to sing tonight?
I'm going to sing I Dreamed the Dream from the Miserables.
Okay, big song. Yeah? Yeah.
Okay, so I want to ask you guys now, from those first few seconds, your first impressions. Yeah, are you thinking and believing that this lady could be a professional singer? Yeah, she's aiming to be like Elaine Page, yeah, superstar professional singer. So first few seconds, yeah, you look at the faces of the audience, the judges in this TV show, their first impressions were, no way, this lady doesn't have the talent. And yet, they hadn't heard her sing. They hadn't heard her sing. But the first few seconds, the impression that she created was that the talent wasn't there. It was going to be quite amusing. Then have a look what happens next. Have a look what happens.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by.
You didn't expect that, did you? Did you? No.
I'm going to pause it there because it's quite a long clip. But I think we've seen enough there to see that this lady had amazing talent. And she went on, has gone on to be extremely successful as a professional singer. But the first few seconds, the impression that she gave was that there wasn't that talent there. Now, this is TV. This lady got the chance to go on and prove herself. In real life, we often don't get the chance to prove ourselves. First impressions last. And if we prepare an email or a proposal, a report where we create a negative first impression, it's very, very difficult then to persuade people that we do have talent, that we are professionals. So first impressions, very, very important. So remember, attention, interest, desire, action, running through all of our business writing. First impression, a key part of that. So guys, I think we are out of time now. In terms of key takeaways, remember, business writing is persuasive writing. Art of rhetoric, ethos, pathos, logos, running through all the types of writing that we do. Remember the AIDA model, attention, interest, desire, and action. Remember, importance of paragraphs and protocols. Power of punctuation to change the whole meaning and to also assist in understanding. Remember the right style and tone for business writing. So we're looking at business formal. And consistency for credibility. And then overall, the whole issue of first impressions. That is the power of language in business writing. And as we always say, communication works well for those who work at it. So I'd like to stop now and ask, has anybody got any questions on anything that we've covered today in part 2 or from part 1 at all in terms of the whole area of the power of language in business writing? Any questions at all? Any questions? Okay, Nadine, thank you for this one. How quickly does a reader form a first impression of the writer? Okay, so we say attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. No more, absolutely no more than 7 seconds a reader will spend on the first scan of a document. Obviously, it's going to vary from reader to reader, but typically 7 seconds. I do a lot of work with people in career transition. And when we're working with people on the CVs, we say you've got 6 or 7 seconds to grab people's attention, because that's usually all they've got. People are busy, and if you don't get their attention in that time, or if you form a negative impact, less than that. Yeah. So if they open an email and they see just a block of text, they're not even going to spend 7 seconds unless they absolutely have to do. Yeah. So it's very, very quick. Okay. So for the number of words, that's the appropriate number. Okay, thank you for that. Number of words. We say for the number of words in a sentence, we looked at this in the first session, we say average sentences, we should be looking at 15 to 20 words, average. Absolute maximum, Fakra, will be 40 words per sentence. Now, that sounds a lot, but you would be amazed how many long sentences we see. Yeah, many more than that. That's your maximum. Yeah, average, we should be looking at 15 to 20. Nadine, what's the maximum number of sentences for a paragraph? We should be aiming for average paragraph lengths of 3 to 5 sentences, but there could be some very valid reasons for having longer paragraphs in some cases. If that is the case, if we need, for whatever reason, to keep these sentences within one paragraph, I would suggest there that we look to make the average sentence length shorter. So we're keeping the reader and they're not overfaced by lots and lots of long sentences within one paragraph. But good questions, yeah. Thank you. Any more questions at all? Any more? My suggestion is that, as always, thinking about some of the items that we've covered in session 1 and session 2, make the commitments to yourself in terms of going forwards. Yeah, you may have identified things that you think you need to do less of. It could be writing long sentences. Things that you've identified that you're already doing and you're going to keep doing. Yeah, things that you're going to start doing from now on. So it could be, for example, you're going to start monitoring. Are you using the correct paragraph discipline? Yeah, and using the kind of the guideline, new point, new topic, new paragraph. Things you're going to stop doing. So this could be you're going to stop, I don't know, using exclamation marks in business writing as an example. Yeah, this is one way that we can work to actually commit ourselves to action going forwards. Okay, yes, capital letters, a great question, Anna. Advising on how to use capital letters because sometimes it reflects screaming or frustrated tone. Okay, so yes, we shouldn't, Anna, be using block capitals. We shouldn't be doing that. Capital letters should be used where grammatically they're needed. Yeah, so for example, the names of places, people, maybe things like programs. Yeah, so that the first letter of a word, we shouldn't be using block capitals at all because, as you say, it could indicate shouting. That's not what we want to do. If we want to stress something, we've got other devices. You can put them into bold type. If you want to stress, we need to commence this program at 10 o'clock promptly. You can put that into bold. Yeah, but definitely not capital letters. So we think about the grammar rules regarding capitals. That's what we should be using capital or uppercase for. Is it fine to use an exclamation mark in business writing? And Nadine, as we've actually said, no. My advice to everybody that I work with in my training, coaching, consulting on business writing is, I would say, take exclamation marks out of business writing. We don't need them. We've got enough words that we can choose from and enough ways that we can emphasize meaning. So I would say the answer to that is no. I'd advise against it. Okay. Any more questions? Any more questions? Oh, I've got another one here. Is it okay to use abbreviations in business writing? I would be very, very careful with abbreviations as well. Certainly not things like the letter U for you, where it should be Y-O-U, yeah? Or your, you are, absolutely not. And definitely not things like wanna and gonna. They're not even proper words, yeah? If we've got, like good day, yes, no, I would say not. Thank you. No, again, Nadine, you're giving me examples here. Good day. You don't need the exclamation mark. Honestly, when I see exclamation marks, I think about kind of, I don't know, I describe it as like holiday camp style. We don't need it. Thank you. By adding the exclamation mark, to me, it kind of reduces the sincerity of it. Yeah, we don't need it. We absolutely don't need it. Thank you is enough, or thank you. Now, if we want to say thank you very much, yeah, fine, but we don't need an exclamation mark. Abbreviations, be careful. Even if it's after a positive statement, yes, Nadine, even if it's after a positive statement, because it can be misinterpreted. Sometimes people can use exclamation marks and they've got almost a sarcastic tone. We need to be careful. So my guideline on business writing is no exclamation marks. I can tell that this is a bit of a wrench, to lose the exclamation mark, but we really don't need it. You really don't need it. Okay, and the abbreviations, I'd be careful. Very, very careful. Make sure that the reader's going to understand how we're abbreviating, yeah? And also, yeah, not informal language. Make sure the proper words. You must have a valid reason for abbreviating. It doesn't want to look as though you're lazy and you just can't be bothered to write the full word. Remember? Business formal. Business formal. Oh, Nadine says you're going to stop using exclamation marks now. Okay, that's a result then. I believe that we are pretty much at time now. Any more questions? Any more questions from anybody? Thank you for all these questions. So thank you for the questions, guys. Thank you for the input, and thank you again, TDRA, for inviting us to share this vitally important topic on the Virtual Academy. So enjoy the rest of the day, stay safe, and remember, you are what you write. Thank you.